Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next edition of the Losers Lounge podcast, and more importantly, welcome to the Season 8 premiere. Man, it's been amazing that we're on the 8th season here, and we always kick off a season with perhaps the biggest podcast ever. In this case, we have quite a lineup of things to discuss here. Triple subjects, and it's WrestleMania week, folks. WrestleMania 41, Las Vegas, Nevada, Allegiant Stadium. And it's absolutely great to always be here to talk about these things. And as we've done in the previous editions of the podcast, we'll be discussing the WWE Hall of Fame, NXT Stand Deliver, and WrestleMania 41, both nights. And that is always fun to do. But without being said, though, it's time to bring in the losers. First, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome perhaps one of the greatest of all time here on the podcast, none other than heel Balor.
Howdy tippy do, the heelest of Balor's is back once again, back on the greatest podcast of all time. I think we're one of the greatest podcasts of all time out here in the YWC. I'm Heel Balor, you all know how it is. It's WrestleMania season, even though it does not feel like WrestleMania season, honestly. It feels like a weekend, but that's besides the fact. I'm having a good time. I'm ready to talk about NXT, the Hall of Fame, WrestleMania, so much going on. Let's talk about it. Let's do it.
But first, Willie, you should bring in the next person.
Yes. Time to bring in the other losers. He is an optimistic Hall of Famer. He is the Beast Modiest of the Beast Modiest. He is none other than Beast Mode 9000. So,
ladies and gentlemen, the Skull King Beast Mode 9000 is here on the new season of the Losers Lounge podcast and is here for the first time ever on a WrestleMania podcast. This episode, ooh man, we're talking, as Christian said, Hall of Fame, Stand and Deliver, and the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It is absolutely going to be fantastic, and I cannot wait to talk, especially TakeOver Stand and Deliver with you boys. I know it's not called TakeOver anymore, but in my heart of hearts, it still and will always feel like a takeover. It's probably the biggest show of the week. Sorry, WrestleMania. That's just my opinion. And I just can't wait to talk it all with you boys. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait. Christian, would you like me to bring in the next member of the Losers Lounge?
Yeah, that's kind of the point here.
Hey, yeah, fair enough. Ladies and gentlemen, the next member of the Losers Lounge. He is the man, the myth, the legend, the man that has actually put together the thumbnails more recently for the Losers Lounge podcast. I am talking MGB TYLORE.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing fantastic. Oh my god, I tell you, this is my first Mania podcast too, and I am so excited. This is always one of my favorite times of the year, WrestleMania season. Like, it's the biggest event of the year. It's the most important event in the wrestling calendar of the year. And, I mean, it's part of the Big Four. Like, come on, it is so important. But, absolutely, I am so excited about this year's WrestleMania. And crazy enough, not only do I wish everybody a happy WrestleMania weekend, but I'm also wishing everybody who do celebrate a happy Easter weekend as well, as, well, I think for one of the few times that it's really happened, WrestleMania has landed during Easter season, which, that's a little bit of a surprise to me, and a surprise to a lot of other people, but you know what? We'll roll with it, we'll have a bit of fun with it, and I'll tell you, I am very excited. Some huge events we've got here. WrestleMania 41, NXT Stand Deliver 2025, Hall of Fame 2025, and of course we got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on Mania SmackDown. That is all going to be fun to talk about, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to introduce the next member of our crew. One hell of a great person, a legend here in our group, one of the best around. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you all, Steve!
Oh, I love that intro, by the way. Yeah, here we are again. It's that time of the year. You know you can't have one of these big events without us at the Losers Lounge first, but this time is different. It's Mania week. This week alone, you know, there's so many things stacking up. Not just Mania, but a whole lot of different companies coming together for this. You got a whole lot of different shows, and yeah, Mania weekend on Easter. It's going to be a great one. We have a lot of stuff to get into, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So I'm going to pass things over now to a great man known as Leo, the Phenom.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Now, it's good to be back on this podcast with my buddies right here, all in this Losers Lounge. Forgive me for my absence from the last one for AEW Dynasty. I was busy. But I'm not busy for this because there was not a chance I was going to miss this opportunity to be on for WrestleMania, for Stand and Deliver, for the Hall of Fame. This is the biggest weekend of wrestling in the whole year, and I would have been a fool to miss it. But I'm here. I'm ready to talk, and speaking of talking, please welcome one of my good buddies. He is a fellow loser. He is a friend, Mr. Black Negan.
Yeah, you already know what it is. How y'all doing? It's me, the one and only Black Negan. You may know me. I'm the man with a leather jacket. I have Lucille. My veins are filled with steel. Call me Wolverine. But hey, that's besides the point. I'm glad and I'm here to finally talk some WrestleMania weekend. This is honestly the biggest weekend of the year. And this is coming from a dude that just saw his team win the Super Bowl not too long ago. And I gotta say, this is even bigger than that. So with that being said, we're gonna make this podcast the greatest one that we can, the only way that we know how we can.
Indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, finally as well, please welcome to the Losers Lounge none other than Dustin.
Thank you, Christian, for that wonderful introduction. It is WrestleMania season. It is WrestleMania this coming Saturday and Sunday. We also got Stand Deliver and the Hall of Fame. Can't wait to talk all about it. It's going to be a hell of a weekend. I can't wait.
I hope everybody, when it comes to this, understands that while it may not feel like WrestleMania week, the thing is, once it hits, it still hits like crack. I've been told.
It hits different.
What are we, like crack addicts, Limp Bizkit style?
Maybe. I mean, I've been told. All right. Pretty much. Now, folks, I thought I'd let you guys know that we are going to be starting things off with the SmackDown prior to WrestleMania because we're only talking about one thing over there, and it's a constant thing we always bring up, the annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Now, of course, when it comes to the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, ever since 2014, it hasn't really done much. However, in recent years, it's given a push to some people. I mean, after all, last year's winner was Bronson Reed, and even despite the fact that he suffered a really bad injury at Survivor Series, he still had quite a push. So, I really think that it's really good that, it's given some people some good momentum. In my opinion, the Andre the Giant Battle Royal has mostly given good momentums to the likes of Cesaro, the first winner, Baron Corbin in 2016, because that was his call-up from NXT. It's debatable if whether or not Matt Hardy got anything from it, because, he was gotten in this broken era, and he teamed up with the late Bray Wyatt. Jey Uso, of course, in 2021 when he was the right-hand man. Bobby Lashley, I think that was just one of those, sorry, we don't have anything for you anymore, so here you go. But Bronson Reed, on the other hand, won last year's, and it was really cool, because Bronson Reed has been taken as a really good threat. And that's what we need when it comes to these Andre the Giant Memorial winners, They need to be taken up as threats, otherwise, what was the point of it? Because we've asked to this day, what was the point of Mojo Rawley winning? What was the point of Madcap Moss winning? What was the point of Big Show winning? Just so we could pose like Andre.
What were those two that you just said?
Madcap Moss, Mojo Rawley, they both won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal in the past.
Yeah, you know.
The quote
1-1
Snoop Dogg.
because
Oh,
you know, 1-1 because his buddy Gronk had to get involved, and the other one was wearing straps like he was Steve Urkel.
That's actually funny.
went through a fucking paradox.
And of course, from the looks of things, we are not having a WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. Because I think they just realized that was a little bit overkill, not to mention they really wanted to name it after the Fabulous Moolah, and it got backfired. So, yeah.
Yeah. All thanks to a
Snickers
chocolate
for that.
company for that.
Indeed. I don't really like chocolate.
Fair
I'm
enough.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. Calm down, folks. It's all good, though. However, as always, we don't know who's in this year's Under the Giant Battle Royal, so we can never really predict who's going to be in the match. What we can do, however, is think about who could win or who should win and who could actually, let's just assume based off of how things went for last year, because Bronson Reed had a hell of a push after winning that Battle Royal, let's just assume the same thing could happen this year. So if that's the case, I will start off with Dustin. I'll ask you your thoughts on the Andre the Giant Battle Royal and who's going to win.
So the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, the annual Battle Royal itself, I'm actually very excited for this Battle Royal because the amount of talent that's going to be in this is super stacked. You got guys like, just to name a few, Ray Phoenix, Andrade, freaking Carmelo Hayes, Karrion Kross, just to name a few. I really think, just like how last year's was with Bronson Reed, I think it's going to catapult someone to a big time push in the future. With the Battle Royal, I'm actually going to go with either Ray Phoenix or Karrion Kross. I think both of Ray Phoenix is on the trajectory to superstardom. And I think a big win in a Battle Royal like this would be huge for him. And with Karrion Kross, it's a little bit more of a different story. He just needs something to catapult himself into the mid card and to maybe the main event scene to challenge for like the IC title or the potentially world heavyweight title in the future. So I'm going with Ray Phoenix or Karrion Kross to win the Battle Royal.
All right. And next, I am going to ask TYLORE. I'm going to ask you, man, what is your thoughts on the Andre the Giant Battle Royal? And who do you think will win it this year? Or actually, how about this? Who should win it this year?
Yeah, the Andre Battle Royal. I honestly, when it was first introduced around Mania 30, the sentiment around the Battle Royal was a great idea, honoring a legend like Andre the Giant, the first Hall of Famer, by giving sort of like a special sort of match related to him. And you know what? It has worked pretty well in the past for some names, but for others, it hasn't really. But I think recently, especially now in the Triple H era, WWE has learned very well to use it as a springboard to help elevate talent. And that's what we saw last year with Bronson Reed. Like, Bronson, at that point, he wasn't doing too much. He wasn't really at that main event scene level yet. But after winning the Battle Royal, he was put into the main event scene. He was put into that high sort of level. And that's a great example of what that win could mean for your career. I mean, many years ago, a lot of us thought of it as a bit of a joke. But now I think this match should be used to help elevate those names that could definitely use it as a springboard to superstardom, to main event level. And honestly, for who I think could win, and obviously we can't be 100% sure, but who I think could win this year, well, it's someone who has recently joined the fold into WWE, and I think could use this win to help springboard even further into that main event echelon.
And I know exactly where you're going with this, man. Yeah, I know exactly where you're going. And that is none other than El Grande Americano.
I mean, he is pretty good, but He's already got a match on the Mania card.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll be able to be double booked. That's the thing. I mean, I could see Chad Gable in the Battle Royal, absolutely, but that's not where I'm going with this. That's not where I'm going with this. What I am going with is one of the absolute best wrestlers to come out of Mexico, and that, of course, is Rey Fénix. Believe me, Rey Fénix coming into WWE was the right call. And believe me, this is the first time on the podcast where we're talking about his WWE run so far. And believe me, already he's got really great presentation. His matches so far have been fantastic. I mean, his match with Nathan Frazier, good lord, that match was brilliant. And even his match with Berto, I think that was a really good match. So, I gotta say, they are using Fénix really well so far, helping to establish him as sort of like a credible sort of competitor. And I think winning the Battle Royal will put him into that megastar main event sort of level, which I think that's where he should be. I think he should be up there with like a lot of the top guys on SmackDown. And I think winning the Battle Royal would make so much sense for him. So I gotta give it to Rey Fénix, 100%.
Alright, we already just started our predictions on this long podcast, folks, and we already started off with a great one. So, that's our show. I'm just kidding. Moving on to the next one. Let's see. Steep. Or should I say, I am Steep. What is your thoughts?
Like you said, the winner of this, whoever gets it, really does depend on the trajectory of what happens after winning it. And I'm going to give two types of predictions. If it's going to be someone who you just wanted to win it, you're not going to really much do anything. I mean, this person's already in deep of a hole of his career anyways, and him being a favorite of mine, I'm going to just put it out there. If you're not going to do more with this person after winning it, give it to someone like Austin Theory or Waller. Can't hurt them any more than what you've already done. Well, I shouldn't say that, maybe speaking too soon, but, if no one's going to do anything with it, give it to Theory. But if someone who could really benefit from it, someone who really should use it, who has been thriving on their own, my pick would be Ludwig Kaiser.
That's actually a really good one. I agree. That's actually... Ludwig Kaiser absolutely could benefit from this. Because, this is why the Andre the Giant Battle Royal should have that sort of meaning. Like, this actually should be like, hey, you win this, you should be able to get a push in the future. Perhaps maybe a mid-card title match. Who knows? Anyway, Hugh Balor, I'll go next with you. What is your thoughts on the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and who should win it this year?
TYLORE pretty much got my pick. I was going to pick Rey Fénix. With him being in the company, it's really, really amazing. I'm smiling ever since. I'm going to go with someone who... There's so many choices out there. Steve put it best, you just want them to get something. You really just want this individual to get something. And he obviously isn't booked, and I really wish he was, because he is obviously off of Mexico, and that would have been Chad Gable, but he's obviously off of Mexico, and Grande Americano is that guy's going to do great things in the future. Honestly, I have no idea really who I want to pick to win this Battle Royal, because honestly, they don't care about the Battle Royal, to be honest with you. To me, it's a throwaway thing that should have been obviously done with for a long time, in my opinion. But if I were to choose, I'm with Steve. I'll go with one of A-Town Down Under, probably Austin Theory, since they deserve a whole lot more than they've been given. So, I really want to see Theory and Waller, achieve some things, especially Theory, and how he's been treated, and how Waller's been treated too. I'm going to go with one of them.
All right, then. KESHAWN, what's your thoughts on the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and who should win it this year?
I'm gonna make this short and sweet. I can see what they're saying. It is a great tool to help put some people over. You know what I mean? But as far as what I think, who I think would win, I'm gonna just throw something to the wall. It probably won't make sense, but it probably will. Because we don't know. If he's not booked for Mania, there's one person who I think should win. And there's one hint I will give you, but it's not really much of a name. It's more of a sound.
You want a chainsaw to win?
I would say Leatherface, but he's not in it.
Oh, I was about to say. I have no idea what the hell you said.
I thought he was busy with AEW.
Yeah, he's probably in his slaughterhouse or something.
That's actually funny. But no, yeah, I know who you're actually talking about. Tama Tonga, huh?
Yeah.
It's actually not bad. Really cool one. All right. Leo, what is your thoughts on the Andre the Giant Battle Royal and who should win this year?
Honestly, I've stopped giving a damn about the Battle Royal. Like, it's almost accomplished nothing to anyone who's won it. Like, it's just like a trinket. Like some have done well for themselves after winning it, like Jey Uso, Baron Corbin. But then you also got guys who won it that already established that it's just like, oh, you won it. Cool, like Braun Strowman, Matt Hardy, Bobby Lashley. But if you're gonna use it to at least get someone to the top, like break out a little more from the mid-card scene, elevate them a little bit at least, like I would say, like Rey Fenix or a Ludwig Kaiser. But if you're just gonna give it to somebody, like just for the heck of it, I could say one of three names: Sheamus, R-Truth, just to make us smile and laugh. Like, may as well let him win it. Or perhaps use it as a return vehicle of a big win for a returning superstar.
That's fair.
Perhaps Rusev.
Haha. And we've been hearing rumors lately.
Hey, he's officially re-signed, and you know what? This could be a great way to bring him back and be like, hey, like we're sorry how things went 5 years ago. Like, here's a big win, and then after WrestleMania, we're gonna start pushing it the right way.
Yep. And finally, Beast Mode. Your thoughts on the Andre the Giant Battle Royal and who should win it this year?
You know, after what Christian said to Steep, I really think there's only one clear answer for the winner of this battle royal.
What?
Everyone's in the ring.
What? Chicken jockey?
And the lights go out. Chicken jockey! Yeah!
Chicken
Yeah,
jockey!
get the whole arena to start throwing everything all over the place, all the popcorn, all the beer.
Nah,
you know what?
I do
Just for the hell of it.
with-
I was like, just for the hell of it, everybody, let's all say it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Chicken jockey!
Oh, hell yeah. Let's go, says
Take my boy, Chicken Jockey.
Chicken jockey, cluck, cluck, cluck.
I do agree with two of my fellow losers, though. I do think that it is either gonna be a return vehicle, or it is gonna be a springboard for somebody who we have already seen. I'm gonna go with, if they're gonna do it with somebody you've already seen and really try and elevate him just a little bit, just a little oomph, Rey Fenix. But if it's a return vehicle, I agree with Leo. Have everybody in the ring, and then Rusev's music hit, and then have him just machka kick every motherfucker in that ring and just eliminate everybody. Those are my two picks.
Yeah. I did have
Also,
one...
Chicken Jock.
Yeah, I did have one pick, though.
Oh?
One pick that nobody has thought of. It's somebody who really should be here.
Omos?
Yeah, Omos.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Almost
the former
Sapiens
GHC Tag Team
rise.
Champion.
Almost Sapiens will rise.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like, if you're not going to use him, then at least bring him in for this before you send him back to Japan.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. That pop would be crazy, too.
The the fellow Mandingo Warrior of WWE. Is that right?
The what?
Don't worry about that.
Okay, whatever. Don't know what that was about, but
Or some of his fans like to call him the BBC King.
I
The
suppose
hell
so.
did you?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
A lot of silence. It's okay though.
Ah, stinks.
All right. So it's either going to be Rey Phoenix, perhaps a returning Rusev, or Chicken Jockey. Not bad.
Base chicken jockey, yeah.
All right. Now that that's out of the way, folks, who is ready to get suited up?
Woo! Old people!
Oh, yeah.
Time to brush off the suit, put it on, get yourself tailored nice, and we have to look our best because, folks, it is time to talk the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony for 2025.
Christian, I'm wearing sweatpants and an oversized Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark t-shirt. Is that applicable or not?
That depends entirely. I mean, after all, people are going to start telling scary stories at the Hall of Fame, so it's possible.
Fair enough. You're right. True.
Yeah. Something on the
Oh
lines
shit!
of that.
Gotta change.
Yeah, you probably should. Because that skimpy outfit doesn't work unless... Never mind.
I mean, hey, just throw some $20 at me, and I'll make it work.
Phased.
Uh-huh.
Chicken jockey.
Oh my god, he's going to say chicken jockey this whole podcast. All right, well, the reason why this is actually really cool is because not only do we have a set of inductees to talk about, but we got the return of the Legacy Wing for the first time since 2021. That's actually true. Haven't had a Legacy Wing since 2021, apparently. And a debut for the first time ever at the Hall of Fame, known as the Immortal moment. And when we're talking that, we're talking WWE is finally inducting matches into the Hall of Fame, acknowledging these big-time matches that have happened throughout history. And I don't think they're just talking WrestleMania. I think they're talking of all time here.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Christian, because I remember when you sent WWE years ago, right? And you actually brought that fact up, and back then it was just a rumor, but now it took a few years, but it's actually a thing now.
Well, I've been known to call things. I once called that the Thunderdome was going to happen.
Oh, I kind of missed the Thunderdome. I'm not gonna lie.
In 2018, one of my videos, I think it was, like, I actually said, "Oh my God, with all this crazy effects, it's only gonna be a matter of time before WWE's doing shows in front of holograms."
I think I'm the big one of all.
I mean, it was close enough with the holograms, but not exactly.
Hey, if they were to really use holograms, I would have glitched it out and just put every single hologram in the arena just to be Tupac. What the fuck is a mountain?
Yep.
I understand that reference.
So when it comes to Hall of Fame, we're going to start things off by talking the Legacy Wing, since that's probably going to be the one that will take the shortest amount of time. Everybody knows exactly what the main event of this is going to be, though. And it's going to be amazing. So, in case anybody doesn't know, how we do this is we talk about the subject at hand, we go through their best moments, or if we have any personal favorite moments of their careers. Like, I know for a fact we have a lot to talk about for Triple H. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But for the Legacy Wing, probably not so much. But however, we do have quite the three names that are in the Legacy Wing this year. Very, very interesting. Ivan Koloff, Dory Funk Sr., and Kamala. A lot of people said Kamala should have gotten a solo induction in the Hall of Fame. Like an actual induction rather than being part of a Legacy Wing. You know what I mean?
He could have, but considering his impact on wrestling itself is very minimal compared to others.
For the record, though,
Like Kamala is someone who is definitely a legend sort of thing. It's just that when it comes to overall sort of career highlight sort of thing, it's a bit tricky to think of a lot of things, but he is definitely a legend.
Yeah.
Really think about it, you only really saw him at least in our time alive was just coming out to gimmick battle royals, just kind of hitting his belly, going, and But
The
if you
first
look
time I
back,
saw
it's like,
Kamala, it was doing that fucking Randy Orton versus Undertaker feud when he was going against people from Undertaker's past, and 1 week he was facing Kamala.
yeah, like a few with the Undertaker, like they had the SummerSlam match, and then the first ever casket match. Well, it was called a coffin match, but still considered a cat match.
Yep. So what I will let you guys know right now, for those who do not know, Dory Funk Sr., everybody knows Dory Funk Jr. because, well, Dory Funk, Terry Funk, yeah. This guy's the father of one of the biggest hardcore legends of all time in Terry Funk. Dory Funk Sr. never actually did anything for the WWF and throughout his entire career. I mean, it was WWF and even prior to that. However, began his career after serving in the U.S. Navy during World War II. So, he's mostly been a wrestler and promoter. Passed away in 1973, so long after any of us, long before any of us were born, so by over 20 years. Willie, you're the oldest out of all of us here, right?
I mean, hell, he's almost 30.
Just so is Christian. Keep forgetting, both the same age.
Well, yeah. All I'm saying is that you're 24 hours older than me. But regardless, he passed away 23 years before we were born.
He passed away before my mother was born.
That's a crazy thing. However, his impact in the wrestling scene helped, especially with, the territories. And of course, the territories turned into this, which eventually turned into the WWF monopolizing everything. So I guess in a sense, maybe without Dory Funk Sr., nothing. We wouldn't be here right now. Now as for Kamala, well, a lot of times, he's been a champion from AWA, NWA, USWA, and of course he's appeared in the WWF. Known, of course, for his feuds with the likes of Hulk Hogan and, of course, The Undertaker. He passed away in 2020, so 5 years ago. And everybody has been saying, for the longest time, he should have gotten a solo induction rather than being part of the Legacy Wing, which I won't lie, I kind of agree with this one. Because I really think, with the stuff that he's done in his career, he definitely deserves a much more bigger spotlight for this. And of course, the final one, Ivan Koloff. Wrestled in the NWA, wrestled in the WWF, but is famously known for ending the 2,803-day reign of Bruno Sammartino, the longest world title reign in WWF history. And I'm still saying WWF.
One of the greatest of all time.
Yep. So yeah, Ivan Koloff, Dory Funk Sr., Kamala. Or is it Kamala Harris? Just kidding. His last name actually is Harris.
Wow.
His real name is James. His real name is James Harris. His name is Kamala, so is that Kamala Harris? Oh my God! Oh man, that is just funny and weird. But anyway, we're gonna move on from this because we here at the podcast are not talking politics, okay?
You know what I really hope his last name was?
What?
I wish his last name was Khan, so I can call him Kamala Khan.
Kamala Khan. What the fuck is this, Miss Marvel?
I got that right.
Ellie.
ETW Beast,
You mean Kama?
Oh my God.
Well, definitely
Kama
would be
Conga?
Kamikaze retired
They
for
do
the
all so much
25th.
already.
Kamikaze or something retired for the 25th time. Who knows? Anyway.
Oh man.
Anyways, moving forward though. Leo, I'll actually start with you. If you don't know much about them, that's cool. But I wanted to get your thoughts on those who are inducted in the Legacy Wing of the Hall of Fame.
Congrats to them. Their impacts on the wrestling business is felt. I know of all of them. I've done my research. It's all well deserved. I mean, I don't know much of Dory Funk Sr., but I know his sons and their impacts on wrestling. I know Kamala. I've seen his work, if and of Ivan Kola, the Russian bear. If I know because of of defeating Bruno all those years ago, and yes, he was just a transitional champion, but you know what? A very important champion.
Going next, and this would be Steep. Your thoughts on those inducted into the Legacy Wing this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing different than what Leo said. I mean, I'm familiar with all of them. Not so much with Dory Funk Senior, but familiar with obviously his sons and everything. And just congrats and props. That's all I have to say. Well deserved. Their impact did play a lot in the wrestling industry in their time, and in our modern time today. So well deserved, honestly. And congrats to all those involved.
Yep. All right, Heel Balor, your thoughts on those inducted into the Legacy Wing of the Hall of Fame this year?
Pretty much everything that Leo and Steve said there. Congratulations to all of them who have been inducted. You deserve this, and it's a very big thing. So, big congrats.
Yep. The one thing I'm also thankful for before I move on to the next one is the fact that I know Terry Funk is no longer with us. However, Dory Funk Jr. still is. I do wonder if we could see a potential appearance from him or something. Make a short cameo at the Hall of Fame. Who knows? Regardless, though, it's really good that the Legacy Wing was created for those, even for those who wrestled in like the early 20th century. Brings up more ideas and more acknowledgments. That's what I like about it. Black Negan, your thoughts on those inducted in the Legacy Wing this year? And I think that's the first time I actually referred to you by that name too.
History has been made on the season premiere, folks.
Yeah.
Screen recording.
Continue.
Or for some reason you're watching this while you're streaming on Twitch. I'm not sure how you're watching this while streaming this on Twitch. Clip it.
Continue though.
But yeah, it's pretty much what everyone else said. The only one that I really wasn't too familiar with was Dory Funk Senior. But for what I heard, he was a legend. So I have to say that he definitely deserves this, especially after being in the Navy before he was a wrestler.
Yep.
It's definitely worthy of respect.
Hell yeah. Also, we'll take this moment, folks, to salute those who actually are serving in the Navy right now. There you go.
And there was this one moment about Kamala, it didn't really involve him. It involved the Rock. Y'all can probably guess which segment I'm referring to. It was him and Hogan in the backstage area before Kane showed up and did what he did, and he's like. And Rock was like, you've been in the ring with a lot of scary cats. I've been in the ring with a lot of scary cats. But Kane, he ain't Kamala. Remember Kamala? He slapped his butt like, he ain't dying. He ain't Kamala. And it was before Kane even showed up, and I was already dying at that. Because he's just like impersonating different wrestlers and shit.
Yeah. Funny shit, huh?
Oh god, best backstage segment ever.
Yep. All right, and now of course we're gonna go to Beast. Your thoughts on those inducted into the Legacy Wing this year?
Absolutely, man. They 100% deserve it. Out of the three, like Black Negan, the one I was the least familiar with was Dory Funk Senior. I'm more familiar with Junior and obviously Terry. But I've heard a lot of shit about Dory Funk Sr. He's really, really dope. He's obviously a legend, and I'm definitely glad he's getting that, as well as Kamala and Ivan. I have a Russian friend that I'm sure will be very happy that Ivan Koloff will be going into the Legacy Wing. So shouts out to him.
Who don't know, Beast actually knows Khabib Nurmagomedov.
No, not him.
Fedor Emelianenko.
But and on Kamala as well. As a collectible fan, I'm interested to see if anybody knows what I'm talking about. There is a super rare Kamala figure that his belly has a moon painted on it, which is worth like a gazillion dollars. And I'm wondering now with him getting inducted in the Legacy Wing if that's going to go up or down. I'm intrigued to see the figure market after that.
That's just going to go up.
Yeah, it most likely will go up. I mean, the price of everything's going up these days, so might as well.
It is true.
Yeah, like you'd think with like such value for it to have such sentimental value sort of thing now, it's like it would make a whole lot more sense for it to go up in price now on like eBay and such.
I'm gonna be watching the figure market after the Hall of Fame. I'm gonna just out of curiosity.
Well, be sure to keep us updated on that.
I'm
intrigued. Yeah.
That's if you're even gonna be awake, because this thing is gonna be airing at 1 in the morning.
Oh, I ain't gonna be awake. I'm gonna check it tomorrow. What the fuck? Like, or the next day, rather.
1 in the morning on the east.
Like, absolutely not.
Well, yeah. Well, also like in the fact that when it comes to all that, yeah, that reminds me. Yeah, the Hall of Fame, folks. For those who do not know, it starts at, if you're in Eastern time, 1 a.m. after SmackDown.
Yeah, parts unknown over here is in the East. So yeah, I'm at 1 a.m. over here. This shit's fucked up. Much respect to everybody who's going into Hall of Fame. It's awesome, but I ain't watching it live. I like my sleep.
Yeah, I'm gonna be watching it in the morning.
Yeah.
I'll probably... I don't know if it's airing in the afternoon for me, but if it is, then I'll probably watch it live. I don't know. It'll depend.
Yeah.
I'll probably catch highlights like later in the day, but I'm not going to pretty much wake up in the middle of the night to watch this. I'm good.
Understandable. So...
Must be out your damn mind.
Yep. And of course, TYLORE, your thoughts on those inducted into the Legacy Wing of the Hall of Fame this year?
Oh, believe me, the Legacy Wing, like, this is the first time I'm really talking about the Hall of Fame sort of thing, and it is quite an amazing thing to watch sort of thing. The Legacy Wing, it was introduced a few years ago, sort of thing, as a way for those people who helped to pioneer a lot of the things in the industry to get their recognition. And many people have been a part of the Legacy Wing, and believe me, I think it's one of the most important parts of the Hall of Fame, and it gives more exposure for those people who may not have done as much as a lot of people may have thought, but still made a massive impact in the wrestling business. And I think that fits very well with the 3 people we've got in this year's inductions. First, Dory Funk Sr. Obviously a member of the Funk family, one of the greatest sort of wrestling dynasties of all time. And honestly, like, I wasn't too familiar with Dory Funk Sr. as a lot of you guys probably aren't sort of thing, but I think the legacy he put into the business, and especially as you mentioned earlier, the territories, like, the territory system was one of the most important parts of wrestling in the 70s and 80s and that kind of thing. So I'd say it's very important to have that sort of recognition of that, especially since we live in like this modern age where like it's not exactly like your local, there's not much localism in society sort of thing. Like local TV networks are going away, local sports playing out sort of thing, but it's like localism is important, and to show that sort of localism when it comes to like the territory sort of thing, I think that's really good and really important for like society in a way sort of thing. Ivan Koloff, the Russian Bear, one of the more interesting ones I'd say to include, but a very important one, especially with the distinction of being the one to end the legendary title reign of Bruno Sammartino. I mean, Ivan Koloff as a wrestler is definitely in that hard-hitting sort of style. Not like modern-day hard-hitting sort of thing, but like the old-school style of hard-hitting sort of action. And I think it's really important to have that, and especially with that distinction, I think absolutely he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. And even in the Legacy Wing, it's well-deserved as well. And then you've got Kamala. Like, Kamala, for a lot of us, we fought as more of a jokey sort of character sort of thing. But Kamala, he was a beast. He was one hell of a competitor. And even, like, he even wrestled matches in, like, sort of like the modern day sort of thing before his passing. Like, I think I remember one time he faced Bryan Danielson, and that was, like, one of the craziest stories I've ever heard, like, that match being a thing. But, yeah, as Beast mentioned about how the Kamala Hasbro sort of figure, like, that had the, what was it? It was one of the versions had the moon on it, and one of them had, like, a star on it, and, like, the moon one is more expensive sort of thing. Like, that's also pretty historic as well, in a way. I mean, a lot of people may look at that sort of stuff and be like, oh, that doesn't really matter sort of thing. But in, like, the legacy of WWE as a company and, like, their merchandise as well, like, that's a pretty important thing as well. So I will say all three of these men absolutely deserve to be in the legacy wing, and I'm glad they are being honored this year in the Hall of Fame.
All right, and Dustin, your thoughts on the legacy wing of the Hall of Fame?
Now, the legacy wing of the Hall of Fame, Ivan Koloff, Dory Funk Sr., and Kamala. I'll be honest with everyone here. Obviously, I was not around to see any of their work live, but from what I've gone back and seen, all three of them deserve to be a part of the legacy wing. Dory Funk Sr., part of the legendary Funk family. For Ivan Koloff, a former WWE champion, and Kamala, from what I can remember, had honestly a pretty good casket match with The Undertaker back in the day. So I think they all deserve this spot in the legacy wing. They all deserve it. Congratulations to them, especially Kamala, because I think he is highly, highly underrated.
And now, folks, we are moving on to the what?
Christian, before we move on, I'm sorry, before we move on, I just found the Kamala Moonbelly action figure. I'll make sure everyone can see it, can see how much this is.
I can't.
$21,000. Yep.
$21,000.
Not bad.
Oh God, the price is good.
Just wait till Bro gets inducted in the Hall of Fame. It's just gonna go up.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is gonna go up times 1,000.
Yep. All right, folks, we're gonna move on now to the first ever Immortal moment, folks. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame, this is the first time that a match is going to be acknowledged as part of it. So this is very interesting. The one they picked, WrestleMania 13, the submissions match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret the Hitman Hart. Refereed, of course, by Ken Shamrock. And the very interesting thing about this match is that this induction, I'm actually shocked that a match gets an inductor. In this case, it's CM Punk. And I'm both surprised and not surprised. I guess this is the closest everyone's going to get to a Stone Cold CM Punk match or something. So I guess that's where it's going to go here. So, I really think, yes, this match is the perfect one to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Because looking back on the match at WrestleMania 13, matter of fact, I rewatched that a couple of days ago. Thanks to Netflix, I got all the pay-per-views. And I watched it again, and it was so good. It's just so amazing to look back on a match, even decades later, and you're like, that is still amazing to watch. My personal favorite, of course, is Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, so I hope that gets inducted maybe next year in the Immortal moment. Who knows? But, I will start, of course, with TYLORE this time around. What's your thoughts on the Immortal moment this year?
Man, I believe you. Like, this is one of the best additions they've made to the Hall of Fame this year. Like, the introduction of the Immortal moment, putting some of the greatest matches of all time into the Hall of Fame, I think was one of the smartest ideas they could have done. Like, for a lot of us, the matches are, like, some of the most important things. And for me, like, as someone who has been watching the product since, like, 2008, 2009 sort of thing, like, knowing these sort of legendary matches and their legacy and their history, it helps to expose those who have never seen them. And I think for those people who may not be familiar with, like, the past of wrestling, like, a lot of the newer fans coming in, and they see this match in the Immortal moment, that will probably convince them to go back and watch it, and I think that's a good thing. Like, being able to go back and relive these sort of things, having that understanding sort of thing, and letting them be immortalized like that, it makes so much sense for sure. As to the match itself, Stone Cold versus Bret Hart, yeah, one of the greatest matches of all time. Like, when you think of, like, iconic WrestleMania matches, you definitely do think of this matchup. The I Quit contest, where Stone Cold's out here, he does not want to submit with the Crimson Mask passing out, and, well, I don't know if you'd officially consider, like, the double turn sort of thing, since I think, what was it, beforehand Bret Hart did, like, some heelish kind of things, but obviously most people remember it for being the moment where Stone Cold became the top good guy that everybody knows and loves, and Bret Hart transitioned fully into being more of the sinister sort of bad guy type thing. And honestly, that is such an important match for, like, the fabric of wrestling, because I'd say without this match sort of thing, it wouldn't have led to, like, a lot of the things we saw in the Attitude Era. Like, without it, Stone Cold may not have been, like, the big megastar we all knew and loved sort of thing. And, like, without it, Bret Hart wouldn't have played a major role as part of 1997. Like, the dawning moments of the Attitude Era. So, I think it's a great choice for them to have chosen this match. And honestly, CM Punk as the inductor, like, I don't think anyone expected that, but I know Punk is a massive Bret Hart guy, and I know he's had his history with Stone Cold, so yeah, it does make a lot of sense for that to be the case, although I do wonder if we will see Ken Shamrock show up for this, but I don't know, maybe he has other commitments sort of thing, who knows, but to be honest, I'm glad to see this be introduced into the Hall of Fame. And what a great first match to go with to introduce this concept.
All right. Steve, I'll go with you next. Your thoughts on the Stone Cold Bret Hart being inducted as part of the Immortal moment?
Well, from someone who's a big combat fan, I've seen, fights get inducted into various Hall of Fames, boxing, MMA, bare knuckle boxing and stuff. And this is something I've been wanting WWE to do. And it being, Bret Hart and Stone Cold into this, and with Punk being the inductor, yeah, that was like a little off-putting and a little like out of nowhere. I mean, he is the biggest fan of Bret, and there's the whole thing with Stone Cold that's been brewing for years. That dream match that people want, and it's another time you get to see them interact and cross paths and stuff. I mean, they chose a great first match to put in. I honestly did think that if we were to be told that, this was a moment like this was happening, and if we were to guess what first match to be put in, I assume majority people's first match guesses would be something like Taker and Shawn Michaels at Mania 25. But, this is absolutely a great match to put in, and, I'm looking forward to more that WWE does, and what other matches would be, going in after this one.
Yep. Black Negan, your thoughts on Stone Cold versus Bret Hart going into the Hall of Fame?
When you think of I Quit matches, this is one that's always up there, that you always go to, and there's good reason. Some people say that the match is dull. Some others say that it's overrated. Others say that it's one of the greatest matches of all time. All valid criticisms, but you can't deny it's one of the biggest moments in WWE history. I might even go as far as say wrestling history. For what happened at the end with the double turn. Not Hulk Hogan, because he wasn't even there yet. But bro, can you imagine that? If he actually worked with Bret? I'm getting off.
Seriously, that actually would be a really funny and weird thing.
Imagine if Hulk Hogan was in that situation.
Oh God. Continue though.
Stone Cold being the defiant, bald-headed bastard that he is, not quitting even though he was in extreme pain with that fucking sharpshooter, and even after he passed out, he fucking Bret Hart didn't let go, and after that, the star was officially made. So in my opinion, if there was any match that should have been the first one, this is it. This is the perfect one. Although I wish someone else would have inducted it, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. All right then. Dustin, your thoughts on the Immortal moment of Stone Cold versus Bret Hart?
So the Immortal moment, I really like that they're now starting to incorporate some of the greatest matches in WWE history into the Hall of Fame, and I think they picked an excellent one for the very first one in Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart at Mania 13, an all-timer classic between the two. In my opinion, the greatest double turn of all time, where Bret Hart comes in as the babyface and Stone Cold's coming in as the rebellious heel, but then at the end of the match, Stone Cold comes out as the hero and Bret Hart becomes the villain. And I just love this match from top to bottom. Friggin' Bret Hart had the sharpshooter and the greatest visual of all time, one of the greatest visuals of all time, seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin in a crimson mask just screaming, he will not tap out, and then he just passes out. And that's how Bret wins the match. And I love that Ken Shamrock was the referee for this match, because after the match was already over, Bret was going to do more damage to Stone Cold, but Ken Shamrock wanted to fight him, wanted him to back off. So I really would have liked Ken Shamrock to be the one that inducts this match. But hey, CM Punk, I'm not complaining about Punk being the one to induct the match, because he's obviously a big fan of the two. So I think this is a great match to put in the Hall of Fame, and I can't wait to see what other matches they put in the Hall of Fame in the future. This is a fantastic category to put in the Hall of Fame. Congrats to Bret Hart and Stone Cold on Bret Hart becoming a 3-time Hall of Famer and Stone Cold becoming a 2-time Hall of Famer. They absolutely deserve it.
All right. Yo, Balor, I'll ask you your thoughts on Stone Cold versus Bret Hart being inducted in the Hall of Fame.
One of the most legendary moments in professional wrestling, with the blood dripping down Stone Cold's face, locking the sharpshooter, him passing out from all the pain, is one of the moments that you can never forget. It's up there with The Rock and Stone Cold from WrestleMania 17 as one of my favorite moments of all time in professional wrestling, especially WrestleMania moment history. It's one of those moments you will never forget, and rightfully it being the first one. Now I would have done a different one for the first inductee for this one, but hey, it's a legendary moment. That's great. That's awesome. And yeah, it really deserves its spot here. So congratulations. Honestly, it's one of my favorite moments in WrestleMania history. So yeah, very deserving.
Yep. Beast, what was your thoughts on Stone Cold versus Bret going to the Hall of Fame?
Man, I think there was no other choice for the first one.
I mean, I could think of one.
Same
Okay.
here.
But continue.
There's many.
I mean, to me, this was it. Because I don't think without it happening, we wouldn't have got the megastar Stone Cold that he was. We wouldn't have fucking got WWE perfecting the art of the double turn. And we've had some double turns in the past try and replicate that, and they've never had the same magic, you know? Like, yes, the Austin 316 promo really put Austin over the edge, yeah, but without this being the catalyst also, like, it helped get it there. So I feel like having this as the first Immortal moment is definitely a right track. I, as a CM Punk fan, love him to death. I would have had Shamrock induct them. But, me saying that maybe they tried to get Ken, but he just had other obligations, so Punk was the next choice. That's cool. I do hope, though, still, that Shamrock is there a little bit, because, man, I haven't said this on the podcast yet. Everybody knows how big of a CM Punk fan I am. I don't want to say just as big of a fan of Ken Shamrock as I am a CM Punk, but he's up there. He is my favorite wrestler of the Attitude Era. And I really want him to be in the Hall of Fame by himself someday, but seeing him as part of the first Immortal moment is super, super dope. And then if he's there, seeing him on the same stage with Punk would be so fucking cool, man. Like, I love Shamrock, I love Punk, and yeah, seeing Punk induct this Immortal moment is a little, not strange, but a little like, okay, all right, whatever. Would have made more sense for it to be Shamrock, but regardless, I think it's the right choice for the first Immortal moment, and then hopefully at some point down the line in years to come, we get Shamrock inducted in the Hall of Fame by himself, because that son of a bitch deserves it.
I would agree with that, honestly. And finally, Leo, your thoughts on the Immortal moment of Stone Cold versus Bret Hart being inducted?
You know what? This is probably the most well-deserved match, considering not just how amazing the match is, it is easily a top 5 WrestleMania match of all time, but because of how important it was for the trajectory, the future of not just the WWE, but wrestling itself. Because without it, Stone Cold would not have become the major star that he would become, and the legend that he is now. Bret Hart wouldn't have made 1997 like his most pivotal year up until November. Like, without it, like people say, oh, it's a double turn. Like, I'm one of the people that's like, the turn already happened. It's just like the match itself kind of solidified it. Yeah, the moment of like the match, incredible. The ending, the moment itself of just Bret keeping that sharpshooter locked in for like almost over 5 minutes, and Austin just like not giving up, just refusing to lose and be humbled on the grandest stage, is a moment that is going to be etched forever and now immortalized in the Hall of Fame, and should be immortalized forever, because this is one of the most important matches in history, and it's rightfully so going into this Hall of Fame.
Alrighty. Alright. Yep, I'm excited for how that's going to play out. And folks, it's time to move on to our 4 inductees who are being solely inducted in the Hall of Fame. Not part of a legacy wing or an immortal moment, but by themselves. And we're going to start things off with a tag team known as the Natural Disasters, Earthquake and Typhoon. And anybody that knows who they are knows that they were one of the wildest tag teams from 1991 and 1993 because of their insane size, and not to mention, of course, their athleticism. Well, in my opinion, I'd say one of the first big men tag team that really showcased that just because you're as big as they are doesn't mean that you can't get done a lot of cool things and have a great career, and it was shown that they did. Earthquake, Typhoon won the WWF tag team titles as well, and there's not really much else to say, because like, if you want to know more about Earthquake, there's a Dark Side of the Ring episode on that, but we're not going to go into that right now. However, they really showed that tag teams can come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. That's why we have tag teams these days who are in all shapes and sizes. The Natural Disasters were very legendary in my opinion, and I believe they really do deserve to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. So I will start things off in this case with Heel Balor. I'll start with you, Matt. What is your thoughts on the Natural Disasters going to the Hall of Fame?
I don't have much to say, honestly, on them because I didn't grow up with them. But I will say this: it's a very, very deserved induction for both of them, and I'm very happy for them. Like I said, I'm just short and sweet. I don't know much about them, but very happy. Congratulations to them both.
Oh yeah, it's all right though. I know for a fact that once we get to the other three inductees, we'll each have definitely quite a bit to talk about. So, all right, Dustin, I'll go with you next, man. Your thoughts on the natural disasters going to the Hall of Fame?
So, Natural Disasters is the tag team this year that goes into the Hall of Fame, and I think they absolutely deserve it. They are former tag team champs in their own right. They've had some legendary battles with Bushwhackers in the past. I think they absolutely deserve it. I'm still intrigued on who's going to be the one that inducts them because they haven't announced that yet. But I think whoever does that, they will absolutely be happy to do so. Congrats to Earthquake and Typhoon getting put in the Hall of Fame as the tag team that goes in. Congrats to them.
All right. And now, Leo, I'll go with you. Your thoughts on the natural disasters going to the Hall of Fame?
These two are well deserved. They were one of the most revered and disliked, but then turned beloved tag teams of the early '80s, within 1991 into 1993, where they stayed together the whole time, and they were tag team champions. And you know what? They were a good reign. Like these two huge behemoths that really made their mark on the landscape of wrestling. Earthquake, we all know as John Tenta, and of course Typhoon, Fred Obman, that really made for quite a big man team. But they're not the first, but like they were at least, you know, a team that were successful compared to others. Like no disrespect to say the Twin Towers of Bossman and Akeem, but they were just fodder for Hogan.
Right.
You know, these for the natural disasters. For the natural disasters, well deserved. I'm surprised it took this long for either of them to go into the Hall of Fame, but you know what? Better late than never. All I do hope for is, please, for the love of God, it's been done to death. Fred Obman, do not come onto the stage through a wall.
I was waiting for that to come in at some point. I knew for a fact that was going to get referenced at one point from none other than the Shockmaster. I wonder if we'll see an appearance.
The guy came in and dude fell on his face.
And the helmet fell off his head.
Or as Davey Boy says it, he fell on his ass.
Fell on his face, and the helmet fell off his head.
You fell on his face.
Yeah, then he had to come back up and be all serious. Come and get me, Stid.
Stid.
Oh my god, that's still one of the most hilarious moments of all time.
Did you see how McCool reacted to it? Did you see how he reacted to it?
Yeah. KESHAWN, I guess I'll go with you next. Your thoughts on the natural disasters, not the Shockmaster, going to the Hall of Fame.
Oh my god. Oh man. Give me a second.
Alright, I'll tell you what, I'll come back to you then, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, Steep, your thoughts on the natural disasters going to the Hall of Fame.
Really no different than what anyone else said. Props to them. Congrats. Tag team that really did defy a lot, really one of the tag teams that set the barrier that, you don't got to be how big or how small to really, do whatever you can. So, props to you for that, to the both of them. And they really paved the way for the tag teams we had after that and in today's time as well.
Yep. That's the one thing that we like. It's like, even if a tag team doesn't have exactly much of an impact, they already did have a great impact because of what they did for the future. You know? So, KESHAWN, I'll back to you now. Hopefully everything's a lot more calmer. Your thoughts on the natural disasters going to the Hall of Fame?
It's definitely deserved because these are two legit legends of our business, and I have to say, just like Leo said, I'm surprised it took this long for any one of them, but but hey, better late than never, you know, like he said.
Yep, better late than never.
And I just hope whoever inducts them brings out some of Earthquake's famous burgers.
Yeah. Now that you mention that, we don't know who's inducting them. We know who's inducting everybody else, but not these guys.
Yeah.
Wait, who was that?
Yeah, like, I noticed that in the graphic. I was like, what the hell?
We've seen inducted by this guy, inducted by this person, but then it shows natural disasters and it doesn't say it.
I think it might be one of two people.
All right.
Either Jimmy Hart or it's gonna be Ted DiBiase.
Okay, fair point. Potentially, yep. TYLORE, I'll go to you next. Your thoughts on the natural disasters going to the Hall of Fame?
Believe me, this one was definitely overdue a long time ago. If you are not familiar with, like, the golden era of, like, the WWF, WWE sort of thing, you may not be as familiar with these two, but believe me, these two are some of the greatest sort of big men in the wrestling industry. Not just as, like, a tag team, per se, but as well as, like, the individual guys that make up the team as well. I mean, of course, Earthquake, John Tenta, one of the absolute greatest big men to ever do it, having one hell of a career, not just in the West, but also in Japan. And he's definitely had his fair share of weird things happen to it. Like, even in WCW, when he was coming on in as the Avalanche, and then eventually they were like, you know what would be a great idea to give to someone like him who has a tiger tattoo on him? Oh, I don't know. The Shark! Dungeon of Doom was just the wildest stuff ever, but that's either here or there. I don't think we need to deal with that at the minute. And then you've got Fred Ottman, of course, originally starting out as Tugboat before eventually becoming Typhoon. Believe me, Typhoon is a way better name than Tugboat. Like, Tugboat was a great gimmick and all, but just the name Typhoon, like, come on, it sells itself. And yeah, of course, we all know the infamous sort of Shockmaster debut sort of thing, but also when he came in, like, as, like, after that, what was it? He looked like a bloody construction worker when the actual match came in for some reason. I don't know what it is.
He was the Super Shockmaster.
Yeah, like, you think, oh, Shockmaster, what would he be an expert at? Oh, construction.
Yeah, actually, wait.
I don't get it.
I think you mean electrician. Electrician.
Yeah, like construction, electricity, all electricians. You get the idea, folks. But believe me, like, those two men, while individually their careers have had, like, sort of like those mixed bag sort of moments sort of thing, together, they were one of the greatest tag teams in WWE history. Like, absolutely. One of the best big men teams out there. And you look at a lot of the big men teams we see nowadays, like guys like a Briggs and Immortal or the War Raiders sort of thing. Like, you could say that a lot of that kind of helped come from the natural disasters being a thing. And honestly, I gotta say, well deserved for them to get into the Hall of Fame. I'm intrigued to see how they do the induction and what they reference. Like, maybe we might see a Shockmaster reference. Maybe we might see a Dungeon of Doom reference. Who really knows? But honestly, I'm excited to see how this plays out. But well deserved for these two. Absolutely, they deserve it. And believe me, they are one of the best tag teams of all time.
Yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Fred Ottman also related to Cody in some way?
He was really close with Dusty. Fred Ottman is Cody's godfather.
Oh, Ha!
But I think we know who's inducting them now. I just realized that.
Cody Rhodes,
Yeah.
possibly. That would actually be nice.
Cody inducted
Yeah,
his godfather.
Yeah,
That would be nice.
I could see it, honestly. So, I think we might have just answered the question. Or we won't, who knows? We'll find out. And finally, of course, Beast, your thoughts on the natural disasters going to the Hall of Fame.
You know, it's kind of a crime and a shame that John Tenta and Fred Ottman are more looked at as Golga for Tenta and either Tugboat or the Shockmaster for Ottman. Because as the natural disasters, they were fantastic. I think they should be lauded as the natural disasters more than anything. Definitely one of the best big man tag teams of the late 80s and early 90s. And I'm glad they're finally getting their rightful moment in the sun in the Hall of Fame as the natural disasters. Yeah, like, their athleticism as two big men was unparalleled for that time. And there's very few wrestlers and teams from that golden era of wrestling that I actually like to go back and rewatch a fair amount of times. I mean, Roddy Piper's up there, obviously. Ricky Steamboat's up there, but the Natural Disasters are one of them. Like, them as a tag team was absolutely fantastic, and I'm just glad they're finally getting their moment in the sun.
Yep. And with that being said, folks, we're going to move on to our next induction. And that is our female inductee, and her name is Michelle McCool. Someone who is a former 2 or 3-time, 4-time, possibly women's / divas champion. And quite possibly, could you really count Late Cool as the co-champions being like a sort of women's tag team champions before those titles actually returned?
Yes.
Technically, like, I'd say technically.
Officially,
they were a duo, but officially, like only one of them was the women's or the divas champion.
yeah. Only one of them was. They were just, looked at as a co-champions, and the other was somehow allowed to defend on their behalf. So I guess that was the thing. Regardless, Michelle McCool, I watched her entire career. I'm pretty sure a lot of us here probably watched her entire career as well. And she was honestly she was really good at what she did, because throughout a lot of what she did, especially the Late Cool days, made me legitimately hate her. Like, I just wanted her off my screen. Like, she did a great job. For the record, folks, that doesn't mean it's go away heat. That means, get the fuck out of here. I hate you. She did a hell of a job as a heel. And that's why I was always so pleased to see, like, her get her ass kicked whenever she was in feuds with the likes of Beth Phoenix, Mickie James, hell, even Natalya. So,
Oh, Christian, it's funny that you mentioned that type of heat. It's not necessarily go away heat, but I understand what you mean. And I'm pretty sure everyone here does, because I'm pretty sure we all felt the same way towards Edge when we were kids.
oh yeah, I'm pretty sure of that. So that's why it's like, and the fact that they were both, and the fact that they were both on the same brand. Yeah, the fact that they were both on the same brand too. SmackDown.
I would never, man. Remember when during Survivor Series, it was supposed to be a triple threat, and then out comes Big Guerrero like, he's there. We're like, oh yeah, it's Jeff Hardy, and then you think you know me. Oh my God, bro, I was ready to punch the shit out of somebody. I wanted to punch somebody.
But yeah, that was further evidence indeed that, like, heels at the time could make the audience legit angry, but they'll still watch the show because now they want to see them get their ass kicked. So that's what Michelle McCool did. Even if sometimes her jokes went a little too far, i.e. the Piggy James storyline.
Oh, yeah. That.
Yep. So,
oh, boy, that was infamous.
Yep.
The worst part about... One more thing about Edge before we move on. The worst part about Edge, we did watch when we were waiting for him to get his ass kicked, and he got his ass kicked, but he wanted to stay gone. He always come back in like a month.
Yep, that's
so
always.
He couldn't even enjoy it.
Yep, that's usually how it
And it
works.
was so funny. Michelle McCool was kind of the same.
Yeah. Guess you could say she was female edge in a sense.
Oh, they're both lean, tall, and blonde.
Both lean, tall, blonde, and absolutely took advantage of opportunity.
Yeah.
These
and
days,
also having a close connection with the Undertaker.
yeah.
So
These days.
And that's how we know her.
Yeah, he's like these days, folks. Michelle McCool is only famous now just because she's married to the Undertaker, to Mark Calloway. And to be honest, and I've seen a lot of comments saying like, "Oh, she's only on the Hall of Fame because she's married to the Undertaker and everything. She doesn't have a good career." I'm like, "Bitch, shut the fuck up!" In the entire Divas era,
Exactly.
name me another person in the entire Divas era aside from AJ Lee, because Michelle McCool was gone by that point. In like the late 2000s, early 2010s, who the hell had a better Divas career than Michelle McCool?
And then the same people they're gonna say like Natalia or somebody.
The only ones I can say off the top of my head would deserve a future Hall of Fame induction would be Mickie James, Melina, maybe Eve Torres. She wasn't bad. She was just kind of like she got better as years went on.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to Eve, like her major stuff didn't really happen until after Michelle had retired.
Yeah, but in the Divas era, in Michelle's time, like Layla wasn't bad, but like she wasn't as good as compared to Michelle. Just Melina, Mickie James, that's about it.
Yeah, but that reminds me of another
Phoenix,
thing.
but she's already in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. The thing, of course, I wanted to also say is something I really disagree with is the fact that The Undertaker is going to be inducting her to the Hall of Fame, all simply because he's her husband. If you think about Hall of Fame induction should not be happening just because someone is married to the other, but rather because that person had a major impact on their actual wrestling career. Michelle didn't marry Undertaker until like a few months before she retired. And that's why I'm like, for who the person said should be, either Mickie James or Layla should have inducted Michelle McCool. Specifically Layla.
Yeah, like Layla was one of the most important parts of her character work and that kind of thing in like the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, but to be fair, it is WWE themselves who want to have Taker induct Michelle because they want to raise ticket sales. I personally would have done Layla because of Lay Cool, but that's just me.
I personally
that's what they're going to do.
I mean, I personally would have done Layla too because she's hot, but I understand your point.
Hubba.
But I'll actually start with you, Willie. Your thoughts on Michelle McCool's induction, and I'll also ask this question because I'm sure a lot of us can answer that. What was Michelle McCool's best moment in her career?
I grew up with Michelle McCool. She was my first diva ever seeing on television, and she's one of my all-time faves up there. So it's not Batista. Still waiting for that one. That's gonna be a big one for me. But it's great seeing Michelle going in. Long overdue with WWE. She should have been in a long time ago, but this ain't my company. There's so many moments we can go over, man. First inaugural Divas champion and stuff like that. The things with Lay Cool and stuff that were always fun. Her last match, well, for a while at least, was against Layla and stuff like that. Extreme Rules. There's so many things we can go over with Michelle McCool. 2-time Divas champ, 2-time Women's champ. The first one to hold both the Divas and the Women's championships, and then unifying them down the road. There's so much accolades we can talk about with Michelle. And I'm not going to talk about her thing with The Undertaker. But I will say this, rightfully deserved. Should have been there a long time ago. I'm very happy to see at least one of my childhood faves going in, woman-wise. And it's very cool, and I'm very happy for her. One of my favorite moments of her career, God, there's so many. Her winning the Divas Championship, the stuff with Lay Cool. There's just so many things I can name off, but, we'd be here all day. Hell, we're already here all day anyways. But I'm very happy for her. Well-deserved. Her mini returns of the Rumble, her little returns of the Rumble, she even came out like in street clothes and shit at one Rumble, man. It's just so many accolades we could talk about with Michelle McCool. She deserves this moment, and I'm very happy for her. Take her, inducting her, that's cool. I would have done Layla. Would have done Layla. I don't, besides,
Garcia Shitara. Now, that's neither here nor there for me. I would have done that because of McCool and stuff like that. Hell, you might as well bring back the Split Up Divas Championship and like a little of memorabilia right there or whatever you gotta do. But yeah, man, I'm gonna be a happy boy on that night, and I will not be watching Hall of Fame, obviously, because I got to sleep on that night, as I'm sure most of you people will be doing that. But well deserved, long time coming. Now hurry up, WWE, with my man, the Animal. That's all I'm gonna say on that. But seriously, congratulations, Michelle McCool.
Yes, indeed. I also want to be like, yeah, I'm watching the Hall of Fame on Saturday morning, so I have something to watch before we get to NXT. So if you think about it, my Saturday is stacked to the brim from morning to evening. So, yay. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
KESHAWN, your thoughts on Michelle McCool's induction to the Hall of Fame?
Pretty much all I have to say is, yeah, she deserves it. Like, I remember, oh god, this is actually so fucking embarrassing for me. But, alright, I'm gonna tell it anyway. So I first started watching wrestling in, like, 2008. Like, a little before WrestleMania 25. And I saw this episode of Raw where my first episode was when Batista got punt kicked in the head by Randy Orton.
We don't talk about that.
Yes, we do. Anyway,
Fuck Randy Orton.
When and where? Anyway, I was watching, and then I watched SmackDown on Friday after I found out from my brother that hey, you know WWE has another show on Fridays, right? I'm like, wait, what? And then, oh my god, this is so fucking embarrassing. This is so fucking embarrassing. So Michelle McCool was on that episode, and then I saw Maurice, right? And I shit you not, I literally looked over to my brother when Maurice made her entrance. I literally turned my head and looked at my brother. I was like, didn't she just wrestle a few minutes ago? What is she doing back? And he's like, wait, do you seriously think that they're the same person? I'm like, what, are they not? Yeah, for the first week of me being a wrestling fan, I thought Michelle McCool and Maurice were the same goddamn person.
And then you saw them actually, oh crap, they're a team right now.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell? I'm seeing double.
Oh my god, that's so embarrassing for me to share. But yeah, she deserves it, and she is a legend in the business. And everyone that says that she's only getting inducted because who her husband is, all I have to say is, what year did you start watching wrestling? 2015? Because you obviously didn't see her career. But I gotta say, the standout moment from Michelle McCool's career was when she unified the Divas and the Women's Championship.
The only part that sucks is they went in favor of the Divas title.
Yeah.
Instead of a women's title that existed since 1956.
That fucking God, I just hate talking about that fucking Divas title because it looks like a fucking Barbie accessory.
Yeah, like when Roman, for example, when it comes to title unification, when Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar had that bullshit unification thing, I was scared they would do it in favor of the Universal title because of Roman's long reign. But thankfully, oddly enough, both those titles still separately exist. So I don't know what the fuck they're doing with that. Regardless, we're going to move on now. And, Steve, what is your thoughts on Michelle McCool getting inducted to the Hall of Fame?
She definitely is a trailblazer for women's wrestling. And, you know, she, much like everyone else, she was a large part of my childhood. And she really is, you know, someone to look back on and really remember what she really did for the business and for women, you know, at the time and for in our, you know, coming up today. I don't really have a favorite moment from her career because there's so much to name, but anything she did with Layla was just, you know, I was a fan of. She was a very tremendous performer, and she did her, you know, she performed her craft very well. So this is long overdue, and, you know, props for her for finally getting it now.
Yep. Beast, your thoughts on Michelle McCool getting inducted in the Hall of Fame?
Long overdue, man. Michelle is one of the greatest women's wrestlers of her generation. I'm very happy she's definitely getting her moment in the sun as well. Yeah, I think people being like, oh, she's just getting it because she's married to Taker. Dude, you either got to be a new fan or you know fuck all about wrestling. Like, she's a trailblazer, man, and she's definitely getting her rightfully deserved moment here in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. Dustin, your thoughts on Michelle McCool going to the Hall of Fame?
This is one of the inductions that I am most excited for. Michelle McCool finally getting her rightful spot in the Hall of Fame. She was one of my childhood women's wrestlers at the time. I very much enjoyed her work with Layla, by herself. Everything that she did, she was just one of the cornerstones of the, at that point, Divas division. But multiple-time Divas champion, multiple-time women's champion. She just did it all. And one of the first ones, in my opinion, to bring women's tag wrestling to the forefront without actually having the women's tag titles. I just loved everything Michelle McCool did with rivalries with Melina, Mickie James, Beth Phoenix, and so many others. She absolutely deserves the spot in the Hall of Fame, and to be inducted by her husband, The Undertaker. Who else better besides Layla to induct her? I think she's been truly deserved of this spot, and I'm glad she's getting it this year. Congrats, Michelle McCool. You absolutely deserve it.
All right, that's pretty good. Leo, your thoughts on Michelle McCool going to the Hall of Fame?
It's long overdue. She truly is like a standout within a time when women's wrestling was just not taken seriously. I've seen basically her entire career when she started in the Diva Search in 2006, being a valet while also being a teacher, and being the side piece of Chuck Palumbo when he was a biker, and then finally going on her own, then eventually teaming with Layla and getting, what were they called, like Laycool?
Yep.
Oh yeah, Laycool. And the whole flawless, like, getting over as an annoying chant from them. Like say what you will, like we were talking about earlier, like she had like the right kind of heat. Like, oh my god, you are an annoying, loudmouth, like blonde woman. Will you please shut up? But on top of that, like she actually was good in the ring compared to some of the other women at the time. The matches with Mickie James or Melina were usually solid. And then up until her final match in full time at least in 2011, where she faced her best friend Layla in that hardcore makeup match, or like Extreme Rules makeup match.
Extreme Makeover match or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
That was absolutely disgusting, and not to mention so stereotypical.
Yeah, but they made it work. Like, it was an all right match.
And a fucking table that they had. Oh,
It wasn't a table; it was an ironing board.
No, they
Ironing
actually.
board,
I
whatever.
think it's talking about that pink table from TLC
Oh
2010.
yes, the pink table that had their Laycool's like just a airbrush image of them on there. One of those like over exaggerated like copies of them with like giant teeth, really small eyes,
And that, oddly
Yeah,
enough,
that-
was one of the first times we ever saw women go through tables, and it was poorly done.
yeah, it was botched.
Thankfully, these days, women going through tables all the time.
Yeah, because the tables they make now are so flimsy. You can just poke your finger through it and it's breaking.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
apart from the announce table, they
not-
reinforced that to make it like the strongest thing in human history.
ever
And
since
not to mention the fact that
you should have seen the power of Toni Storm. She destroyed an announce table just by touching it.
And not to mention the fact that the tables, every time they make the same exact noise every time someone goes through it. That fucking.
Yep.
That fucking noise.
And like you were saying, Tyler, they reinforce the announce tables. Yeah, JD McDonough wants to send his regards for that.
Yeah. Anyway, though.
But back to Michelle McCool. Like, well deserved. Like, I'm fine with Undertaker inducting her. Like if Layla wasn't available or anyone else, it's fine. A highlight of her career. I always remember that we were talking about that tables match. It just sticks in my mind, because I was watching vividly SmackDown in late 2010. I was actually looking forward to TLC that year because for whatever reason that year, like the first half of the pay-per-views that I watched were great, but after SummerSlam they all kind of sucked up until TLC. I actually remember that match. It's always gonna stick in my mind. That's a moment I'm always gonna remember her for.
Yep.
Oh yeah, not to mention the fact I always hated when fucking Michelle McCool always faced Kelly. I always hated because Kelly was my first wrestling crush.
Fair point on that. And of course, TYLORE, your thoughts on Michelle McCool going to the Hall of Fame?
Believe me, I am very excited about this. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up watching wrestling around 2008, 2009. That's when I started watching the product. And Michelle McCool, she was definitely always there in that era. She was a main focal point of the women's division in that sort of era. And yeah, that sort of era of women's wrestling wasn't the greatest, but it still had a lot of really good names in that era. Girls like Mickie James, Gail Kim, Melina, like Eve Torres, Kelly. Like, even the Bellas were around that era. And, like, if you think about it, like, that sort of era, sure, it wasn't great when it comes to, like, a lot of things, but there was always, like, there was at least always a decent match to be had whenever the time came. And, like, obviously, we do look at that era with not the best light sort of thing, but, I mean, that sort of era was, for a lot of us, our childhood. Like, for a lot of us who grew up in that sort of era, that was what we knew before we saw, like, the women's evolution. And Michelle McCool, I'd say, was one of those who helped pioneer a lot of those sort of elements in women's wrestling. Now, yeah, I know a lot of people back in the day, when they looked at LayCool, they always were thinking of them as being like a ripoff of the Beautiful People in TNA, if you remember that stable. But I actually kind of have to disagree. I think that both of them had like a different style to each other. They, like, yeah, a lot of things were definitely similar, but they weren't really the same. And I think that's a good thing. You kind of don't want to, like, fully copy someone else's homework in that sort of sense. And believe me, LayCool was one of the best acts of that era. Like, sure, 2010 as a year sort of thing was not the greatest for WWE, but LayCool was always there and always delivering on quality. And that's something that you have to give them credit for. Like, they were definitely able to bring some level of quality to the women's division of that era. And granted, we do see her pop in time and time to do, like, an occasional appearance or an occasional match type thing. And it's always great to see her because she's always been really good. Like, she's always been up there as one of the better females of that era. So, believe me, it is rightfully deserved. Now, should have Undertaker been the one to induct her? Honestly, yeah, I'm fine with it. Like, if they couldn't get Layla, or if they couldn't have anyone else from that sort of era come in to induct, yeah, that's fine. And, I mean, there is, like, for the modern fans, there is that association. So, I mean, hey, getting Undertaker to be involved in, like, some sort of presence. I mean, we knew that Michelle, if Undertaker wasn't going to be inducting him, Michelle would probably still have talked about him. Absolutely. But still, to at least have that be the case and get that out of the way sort of thing, yeah, I'm fine with that. Now, in terms of a moment that I vividly remember, it's not a great one, but I vividly remember Royal Rumble 2010. That is one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time, and of course that had sort of like the climax to the infamous Piggy James storyline, which, yeah, that was rough, but as a kid, looking at it, I thought it was funny as a kid sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, obviously it was not great, but when you're younger sort of thing, that sort of comedy type thing does translate to you. And well, considering the sort of era, they were very much leaning their comedy towards that. So, yeah, but that was definitely the most vivid sort of moment I can think of for that. It's not great, but it's definitely one you can remember. And it definitely had a great payoff sort of thing. So, hey, you gotta give props to Michelle McCool for being able to roll with the punches, being able to do like that kind of thing, being able to do that sort of comedy stuff, even if it may not have been the greatest. Sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches. You gotta go with the flow. And honestly, I think she was one of those who was able to do that really well. So, props to her.
All right.
And there's actually, before we move on, there's actually one thing that I'm pretty sure everyone here suppressed, but I'm about to bring it back up. You guys remember when fucking Late Cool were the pros for fucking Caval in the second season of NXT?
Oh my god. Yeah, that was unusual. They were big, nasty bully heels, and he's a good guy who just went along with it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, when you see Late Cool in NXT being a mentor for Caval, it was really awkward because they're like, wait a minute, this isn't the Late Cool we remember. What the hell happened here?
Yeah.
It was so
Seriously,
weird.
I forgot about that.
Thank God.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Thank God you did.
I bet you did.
Thank God you did, but now you just remembered it again. It's okay,
You're
Sean.
welcome.
You're grounded.
I'm 23.
And I'm 29.
I'm a 23-year-old man.
And I'm 29.
And
I'm older than you. I get to tell you.
you gotta be in your 30s to ground someone who's in their 20s. That's how it works. That's how it always works.
All right, then. You're grounded on April 8th, 2026.
That's almost a year away. So
Fair point. All right, folks, we got two more inductees left, and we're going on for the next one. This is definitely another well overdue induction. That is none other than the legendary Lex Luger. Let's fucking go.
Yes.
Lex Luger is getting inducted in the Hall of Fame by Diamond Dallas Page. A lot of people were hoping it would be Sting. However, I can understand why it's Diamond Dallas Page. Definitely played a good part of Lex Luger's career, not to mention has really been helping him walk thanks to his yoga. So it really shows how much Diamond Dallas Page has helped with the wrestling industry, not just inside but outside. Lex Luger finally being acknowledged for the Hall of Fame after all these years. Definitely way overdue. For this case, Steep, I will start with you. Your thoughts on Lex Luger being inducted in the Hall of Fame?
He definitely is one that's, long overdue. The way you hear about Lex Luger, the way people bring him up, you would think that he's someone who's already in the Hall of Fame, and for that not to be, the case and stuff, and this definitely was a long time coming and everything, and I honestly am a big Lex Luger fan. I love Lex Luger. Me and him, he's a Buffalo, New York native. We support the same football team. I couldn't be any happier for him getting this. It really was, better late than never. He's another case of, this should have happened probably over a decade ago or so. But the fact that it's happening now, he really does deserve it, and he had one hell of a career.
Yep. Not just in WWE, but specifically WCW. I won't lie, I was never a fan of the American Patriot gimmick. I preferred him for how he was in WCW. A lot more successful that way. To me, anyway. As we all know, folks, Lex Luger co-won the Royal Rumble in 1994 with Bret the Hitman Hart. And while Lex did not win the championship at that WrestleMania, WrestleMania 10, Bret did. Lex is part of the only co-Royal Rumble winners. And not to mention, of course, was he the first guy to body slam Yokozuna? Or perhaps the only? Is he the only, or is he just the first?
He was the first. I think there was like a few others that were able to do it afterwards. Like the only one that comes to my mind, like off the top of my head, is Ahmed Johnson.
All right, Leo, might as well go with you. Your thoughts on Lex Luger going to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it's overdue. He's earned this spot for a long time. Like even in his hardest times, like in the mid 2000s, like he may have been on a downslope, but he's gone back up. He's found inner peace. He's like you say, he's optimistic now. So he's yes, hard to walk, but he's doing better now. He's one of the great legends of wrestling. That he's been going from the mid 80s up until the mid 2000s. He's even if you don't really care for him as a wrestler, you can't deny the impact he's left. And may I also clarify too, there is going to be a group of people out there that are saying he doesn't deserve it because he killed Miss Elizabeth. Let me clarify. He did not kill her. He felt responsible for her death. There's a very big difference.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, with that out of the way, from when he started, he was a young chap, amazing build, was made to be the future of Jim Crockett Promotions, aka early WCW, up until he finally left because he was kind of feeling out of wrestling in 1992. Came to the WWF. Well, not exactly the WWF, but the WBF. If you don't know what that is, the World Bodybuilding Federation.
Yep. Because
he was one for bodybuilding, and he had the build of your typical bodybuilder, big jacked up muscles, the thing that makes the thump noises out of Vince McMahon's desk.
Yes, indeed.
And when after that, he did have to come back into wrestling once that folded. He had a decent career in the WWF in late 92 into 1993 as the narcissist, before eventually being placed into that Hulk Hogan spot that he didn't need to be in, all because he was jacked, American, blonde. You're gonna be the next American hero.
Yeah, that's the reason why I never liked how they were just trying to make him another Hulk Hogan, because Hulkster left for WCW, and that really pissed me off.
Oh, well, not exactly WCW. He wanted to be a movie star. Then he went to WCW after. But hey, at least give Lex Luger this. He did get that bus.
Yep.
And of course, that amazing music video, "I'll Be Your Hero."
God, dude.
Of course, 1995, once his contract was up, he went to WCW on a minimal money thing. He just wanted to be there with his buddies. And you know what? Probably the best thing that ever happened to him, because he had more success in that time than any other time in his career. And of course, being the first one to defeat Hollywood Hogan for the championship on an episode of Nitro in August of '97, which was done just as a ratings was for the network before eventually losing the title back to Hogan. But you know what? It's still considered one of the greatest moments in Nitro's history.
Yep, that is true.
And speaking of him and WCW, there's one thing that happened in 1996 that really made a lot. I'm pretty sure it made a lot of people question his intelligence, shall we say? What do I mean? Okay, you can spring there like before Fall Brawl '96, and he went out to the parking lot. Ted DiBiase showed up, and he's right where a limo is. And then who comes out of said limo but Sting? And he says, "I looked into your eyes, and I knew that it was you." And then during the match, everyone found out that in fact was not Sting. And he said, "I looked in your eyes, and I knew that it was you." And I'm like, and everyone was like, "Dude, seriously? How could you not tell that wasn't Sting? Like, they have similar physiques, but they're two different dudes."
Like, they sound different.
Exactly. He's like, "I looked into your eyes, and that's how I knew it was you. So I don't believe you, and I can't believe you."
Pretty much.
And of course, one of he had a kind of went downhill after that. Like, he was still popular, but not as popular as he once was, until had one of the weirder character changes, I guess you want to call it that, in 1999, where he was no longer Lex Luger. He was Lex Luger. He buried, is dead. He's in a coffin. Now you get the total package. And that's how you have to call it. Like no, even though everybody just kept calling Lex Luger, like, commentary just kept being like, oh, look at, like, what a maneuver from the total package. Like, Lex Luger, there's nothing different. Oh, he just changed his name.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, the dude, he's followed this Hall of Fame induction, and like, I'm happy for him. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
He's happy. He's in the best mindset of his entire life. He's deserved this. Like, and if anyone denies it, go cry me a river.
Yep. All right. So, Dustin, your thoughts on Lex Luger going to the Hall of Fame?
Lex Express has made its way into the Hall of Fame. I am very happy that Lex Luger has finally made his way into the Hall of Fame. He absolutely deserves it, from his infamous tie in the Rumble with Bret Hart, his match with Yokozuna that I thought it gets a lot of hate, and I don't know why. I think it's very underrated. In WCW, he had probably one of the greatest title changes in WCW history by making Hogan submit and winning the WCW title. I absolutely think Lex Luger deserves this. He's been deserving of it for a while now, and I'm glad he's finally getting this chance to take his rightful place into the Hall of Fame. I wish Sting could have been the one to induct him, but hey, I'm not mad at DDP being the one to induct him. Congratulations to Lex Luger, and you very much deserve it.
All right. And Heel Balor, your thoughts on Lex Luger going to the Hall of Fame?
Oh my goodness. I'll keep this short and sweet and to the point. Two-time WCW champion, the longest WCW United States champion of the single Rampart Championship, WCW World Television Champion, WCW Tag Champ. Need I go on, man? He's done it all, and it's well deserved. Well deserved. Sure.
Yes, you need to go on.
No, I don't need to go on. Sorry, you're long enough as it is. There's so much we can really say, and so much little time. But he's really deserved it. Sure, Sting, it would have been great for him to induct him, but it's okay. It's all good. Big congratulations, though, to Lex Luger.
All right. KESHAWN, I don't think I got yours. Next, how about you go? What do you think about Lex Luger going to the Hall of Fame, and why did I say it like that?
I don't know. Why did you?
I don't know. Maybe because you're awesome.
I have heard that. I have heard that. Yes.
Continue though.
And but all seriousness, I do have to say, he's definitely deserved it. He definitely deserved it, especially with everything that he's been going through and everything. With him having to use a wheelchair and everything, and him using DDP's yoga to help get back into shape. I gotta say, he's earned this. He's earned this, man. He's earned it. And the thing is, when I first heard about Lex Luger, it wasn't even from wrestling, believe it or not. Believe it or not, the first time I heard who Lex Luger was, I actually found out who he was. Believe it or not, it was from an episode of Robot Chicken.
Really?
Yeah, because they did this one sketch where like Superman was getting pranked by everyone that he was trying to save, and they were saying, "We got sued." Basically, he was like they were like faking like being in trouble, so Superman would come help him, and they will film it and put on the internet. And then this one kid who was actually in danger, he was actually hooked up to an actual live bomb, and he was like, I think Lex Luger did it. He's like, "Oh, you think Lex Luger did it? Because Lex Luthor, he's the one who's my arch enemy." Because he's like, "Oh, wait, it's made of kryptonite. Sorry, I guess I can't save you, considering the fact that this bomb looks so real." And then it blew up. And then out comes Lex Luger. He's like, "Yeah, the total package is back, Superman. Go, Lex Luger. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday." And he's just practically gloating the fact that he blew up a kid, just gloating to Superman's face about it. And I'm like, what the hell is
that? Oh my god, that shit is hilarious.
and it's funny that Leo mentioned the Lex Express, because I was actually watching Camp WWE last week on Peacock, and it was that one episode where Vince finally got tired of fucking Stone Cold shit, and he left. And near the end of the episode, they got picked up in the Lex Express, and Vince was like, "No, we're not doing this again. No, just go to the back. Just go to the back. Don't even look at him. But yeah, like I said, this dude's an absolute legend of the business, and I'm glad that he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves. And matter of fact, there's this one video that always puts a smile on my face. I'm sure plenty people have seen it. It's this video of Jacob Fatu helping him get his wheelchair in his car, helping Lex into his car and putting his wheelchair in the trunk.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Also, may I add a little factoid that a lot may not know about when it comes to Lex.
Okay.
He was initially supposed to win the WWF title at WrestleMania 10 and only hold it for about an hour and a half or two until dropping it to Bret Hart in the main event.
Oh, wow.
That's
yeah,
very
but it didn't happen because the night before he accidentally spoiled what was going to happen to a news reporter who actually spotted him in a restaurant in New York, and thus Vince was like, "Oh, we gotta change plans, pal."
Yep.
Yeah, and there was some let's say low lights of his career, but nothing too major. But the biggest one that comes to mind is when he faced Yokozuna at a SummerSlam for the title, and he won, but it was by a countout, and everyone was celebrating like he won the championship.
Yeah.
And this wasn't like your normal sort of celebration. It was like confetti going down, balloons going down, everybody together.
Yep. All right. I'm going to move on to the next one. That's TYLORE. Your thoughts on Lex Luger going to the Hall of Fame?
Believe me, as someone who didn't grow up in this sort of era, I think Lex Luger is definitely one of the most important people in like the fabric of wrestling. Like, not just like WCW, but like in general, because a lot of the things that he was able to do, sort of thing, are pretty important in like the legacy of pro wrestling. And the fact that he's going into the Hall of Fame is just amazing. I mean, a lot of us remember like his start being in like WCW, Jim Crockett Promotions, that kind of thing, like the multiple times with the US title and the world titles and that kind of thing. I remember like the stories of like how he first got the world title sort of thing, and like how obviously that was one of the more interesting moments in wrestling because of the whole like we want Flair thing, and how originally it was supposed to be Ric Flair versus Lex Luger to pass the torch, but Flair got fired because of creative differences with Jim Herd and that kind of thing. And it did kind of ruin the moment for Lex a little bit, but Lex was still able to have a decent enough reign. He still had a great job as the champion. And after that, he moved on over to be a part of the WWE sort of family, like starting off in the WBF, which, believe me, the idea of the WBF was definitely a weird one, but I think, what was it? I remember he was supposed to be on like their first sort of live event, but there was like an injury that sort of happened. I can't remember what it was, but he was taken out because of that. And so then WBF folded a while later, and then he then joined on to WWE officially. I mean, there was a little appearance at Mania. What was it? Mania 8? I think it was. Yeah, Mania 8 it was. But Mania 9 was when he was officially a part of WWE as the Narcissist, which, honestly, that's a really good gimmick. Like, I'm surprised how they haven't really done, like, that sort of gimmick nowadays. I'm surprised how Vince never did it in, like, the twilight of his sort of booking sort of thing. I'm surprised that wasn't the case, because that's the kind of gimmick that works, like, makes sense sort of thing. And, yeah, believe me, it definitely did. But then, due to, well, Hulk Hogan wanting to be a part of a Free Ninjas movie, for some apparent reason, even though that movie was pretty damn good, Lex became that more all-American hero sort of thing, body slamming Yokozuna on the USS Intrepid, and then going on to the Lex Express, the whole campaign tour sort of thing, before leading to SummerSlam, his big match. And look, it didn't go well for him, but he still got that whole all-American celebration, confetti, pyro, balloons, everything under the sun, even though he won via countout, which that didn't really make a lot of sense. Then it would move on to him winning the Royal Rumble with Bret Hart, co-winners, first time it's ever really happened. And, I mean, technically there has been, like, another time where there was, like, two people got eliminated at the exact same time, but that wasn't co-winners sort of thing. That was, like, a restart the match. But in the history books, this is very important to, like, the legacy of wrestling, which then led to WrestleMania 10, when there was the 2 world title matches, 10 years in the making, as they said, and that was pretty interesting. Obviously, it didn't lead to Lex winning the belt, but it was still a pretty important moment as well in the legacy of wrestling. It then led to Lex eventually teaming with the British Bulldog to form the Allied Powers, which Allied Powers is a tag team. Like, yeah, it was a really good tag team, I believe. I don't know if they ever won the tag titles, but it was definitely an important part in the history of wrestling. Before then, it all led to, after SummerSlam, Lex left the WWE but in interesting fashion, because, what was it? I remember the story. What was it? He spoke with Sting about wanting to go back to WCW, and he had the meeting with Eric Bischoff, but in the meeting, in order to get the deal surfing, the WWE could not know about Lex going to WCW. Otherwise, it would spoil their plans for the first ever edition of Nitro at the Mall of America. So, Lex had to keep it a secret, and he kept it to his chest. So that when the moment came, a day after he worked a house show, Lex made his debut for, well, his return to WCW on the first edition of Nitro in one of the greatest sort of moments in the Monday Night Wars. One of the first shots, really. And after that, Lex had probably one of the best careers for, like, someone in, like, the later stages of WCW, being a part of some of the most important moments in the company, and eventually winning the WCW Championship, beating Hogan. And, yeah, Lex definitely has had his more silly moments, like that whole Super Bowl Saturday, I don't know, sort of meme. Like, yeah, that is definitely funny something, but I think with Lex, his legacy has always been about being the Naily Man at points, but always managing to make things work, and he's had one hell of a career, one hell of a legacy, and of course we know Lex has been having a lot of troubles as of late, especially when it comes to, like, his health and that kind of thing, but I'm glad he's getting the help that he deserves, and I'm glad he's going into the Hall of Fame. In fact, I remember, what was it, Cody Rhodes was the one who told him he was going into the Hall of Fame, and it was such an emotional moment to see that, and god damn, like, it's well overdue. It's such a great moment, and for someone with a legacy like Lex Luger, well deserved, 100%.
That was, without a doubt, one of the best analogies of Lex Luger's career I've ever heard. So, once again, major props to TYLORE. That is really good shit.
Well, thank you, man. I'll always appreciate that.
And finally, Beast Mode, your thoughts on Lex Luger going to the Hall of Fame?
Definitely overdue. Lex is one of the pinnacles of the 80s and 90s of professional wrestling. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm very intrigued to hear what he's going to say. It's definitely well deserved. I'm intrigued to is he going to come out with a shirt that's not too tight? I don't know. Solid reference.
Yeah. Oh man, that was funny. All right, though. Are you guys ready to talk the main event of the Hall of Fame?
Oh, yeah.
Indeed. What the hell was that?
That was the laugh in the Triple H theme song, right?
You need to work. You need to work on that. You ain't Lemmy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the sole induction of Triple H, leader of the Hall of Fame class.
H cubed, if you will.
Yep. And it's actually his second time going to the Hall of Fame, because he was priorly inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2019 as part of D-Generation X. So he's now a two-time Hall of Famer. This is just his sole induction. And I do believe, finally, indeed, it's happening. However, I do agree with Willie on one thing, which is, where the hell is Batista?
Yeah, I actually have a theory about that. I don't know if it's just a thing. It's just a thing that I've been thinking about for a while, like since last year. What if they're waiting to induct Batista? And you're probably wondering, what are they waiting for? Can you imagine if there's a Hall of Fame class that's been specifically made for the OVW class, for the OVW 4?
Oh.
Like, that's what they're waiting for.
So, Batista, Randy Orton.
Batista, Lesnar, Randy, and Cena.
Oh,
No.
Well, Brock Lesnar's
No.
Brock Lesnar's
No.
never going in. We know that.
I am not waiting for my man to be inducted any longer. I have waited.
You're a wrestling fan. You may be a wrestling fan, but you got patience. What's a couple more years gonna hurt?
I have been waiting since 2020 for my man to be inducted. Lesnar can wait. I'm not waiting longer. No LBW. Singles for me. Okay. We move.
We move indeed. We move indeed.
You're not getting over.
Because the focus right now, is on the King of Kings, the game, the Cerebral Assassin, and more lately, the Chief Content Officer, Triple H, who has done amazing stuff throughout his career, and of course, for the current, present day booking. Whether good, whether bad, and the fact of the matter is, folks, if you actually thought that Triple H would be booking the shit out of the main roster like he did in the NXT TakeOver days of Black and Gold, you were an idiot. Because Triple H knows how the main roster is supposed to work, how the general audience is supposed to work.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Like, there's definitely elements of Black and Gold NXT within the main roster, but it's not, like, fully Black and Gold. It's, like, some, but not all.
Yeah. So, I am going to start things off with Beast. What are your thoughts on Triple H getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame solely?
You know, Mr. Ha Ha Ha, I think he really deserves it.
That was even worse than the last one.
Hey man, you know, it's Triple H, ha ha ha, H cubed, if you will. I think he definitely deserves his own solo induction, and I'm glad he's getting it. I don't know if, like, whenever his music hits, if I want it to be the game or King of Kings or My Time. I don't really know. I maybe prefer My Time, because that's just me. That's one of my
Could you imagine if he brought back My Time just for this Hall of Fame?
That'd be fucking awesome. I also think he should end his speech with, and if you're not down with that, I got 2 words for you. Thank you.
Indeed.
That'd be cool. But yeah, good for him, man. He definitely deserves it. His speech is going to be long, but very well deserved. And yeah, he definitely deserves his own solo induction.
Yes, indeed. All right, TYLORE, your thoughts on Triple H going into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, believe me, I am so excited for this one. Because, well, for me, as someone who grew up watching, like, wrestling sort of thing, at first, in, like, 2008, 2009, seeing Triple H, I didn't really think of, like, the previous stuff sort of thing. I always thought of him as, like, this badass sort of guy who just willing to do what needs to be done. Like, especially, like, watching Mania 25, seeing the video packages, seeing the entrance, just seeing all that. I always think that Triple H is, like, that sort of badass who you don't want to mess with. And even in, like, 2009 sort of thing, 2010, when he was doing the stuff with DX, like, when they brought that back, he was still pretty badass in his own right, but he's just willing to have a bit of fun when he feels like he wants to. And, you know, that's fair enough, but then years later, seeing, like, the rise of the Authority and the way he was able to present, like, a much more darker edge to himself sort of thing, like, I always thought that to be pretty interesting, but going back and seeing, like, where he started, like, when he started in WCW, like, terrorizing John Paul Levesque, before going into WWE as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, before the original DX came in, and that changed the whole game forever, especially with the Attitude Era, before he fully digivolved into Triple H, and becoming the King of Kings, the Cerebral Assassin, the guy we all know and love sort of thing. And seeing the legendary feuds and matches he had in the Attitude Era with guys like The Rock, Stone Cold, The Undertaker, and Mankind. Like, everything about Triple H, everything about his sort of legacy, like, you look back at the Attitude Era, you look back at everything he's done. He's one of the most important people to the Attitude Era. And for someone like me who wasn't really around for that, he's one of the most important people in wrestling with that. But looking past his wrestling, like his in-ring side, you look at him as the booker. You look at him as the guy who's running the show, sort of thing. He might just be one of the greatest bookers in the history of pro wrestling. One of the greatest minds in the history of the business. Like, in my teenage years, sort of thing, NXT was my brand. Like, Black and Gold era NXT was my show. And I always wanted to watch NXT. Like, even when the main roster was, like, going downhill, sort of thing, I could always depend on NXT for my wrestling enjoyment. And the way he booked, like, the matches, the stars, and everything, he knew exactly what the future of the wrestling business was going to be. He wanted to focus his style of booking and his style of what matches could be to, like, sort of like a mix of hard hitting, a mix of cruiserweight, a mix of strong style, a mix of storytelling in there to create this sort of fusion style that honestly represented NXT perfectly throughout the Black and Gold era from 2012 all the way over to 2021. And after, like, the whole, obviously, the kayak arrest sort of event thing, like, it really felt sad to know that his legacy was in jeopardy, sort of thing, and just everything about it. And seeing NXT change into 2.0, which I wasn't a big fan of 2.0 myself, and seeing what the main roster was going with, not gonna lie, after Black and Gold sort of disappeared, sort of thing, and after a lot of the booking decisions made, I honestly felt like I wanted to stop watching wrestling. Especially since, as an Australian, AEW wasn't really had a proper TV deal, New Japan wasn't really as big, so I think, like, WWE was really the big thing we had here for wrestling, and with, like, a lot of stuff they were doing in 2021 and early 2022, I felt like I wanted to stop watching wrestling. Until Triple H came in as the head of creative for the main roster, and believe me, he made me a wrestling fan again. He made me believe in wrestling as an art form again. And believe me, I know he gets a lot of shit, and absolutely he deserves it. Like, absolutely, there are a lot of problems with, like, the way he books things and the way stories are done and sort of thing. I understand that. I understand not every sort of creative genius sort of thing has their good days sort of thing, but you cannot deny the legacy Triple H has had in that kind of thing. And for me to say that he got me back into watching wrestling regularly after, like, a down spell for me, that's saying something. That is saying something to the quality of booking that he presented. I mean, just look last year at Mania 40 and that main event. Like, that main event with Cody and Roman, the way he booked it, the way he deliberately structured it and sort of thing, it felt special. And to me, watching the product every week with my mates, just enjoying it and just being excited about it, Triple H's booking is what makes me excited about wrestling every single week. And that is something you cannot deny as a wrestling fan. And believe me, whether he was in ring, whether he was having some of the greatest matches of all time with guys like The Undertaker, like Shawn Michaels, like Kurt Angle, like, well, pretty much everybody on the roster of that era, or whether he was booking the show sort of thing and making the best product possible, you cannot deny the legacy Triple H has. And it's hard for me to explain it in, like, so many words, but for me, Triple H is the reason I love wrestling nowadays. And believe me, without him, I probably wouldn't be talking wrestling with you guys right now as such.
Well, that just goes to show that we are here because of Triple H, in a sense. Others have other stories, though, because we could be here because of other reasons. But the fact that TYLORE, you say you're here thanks to Triple H taking control, well, I can say that's a win. That's a W in my opinion. Alright.
Hell yeah.
Yep. We're going to move on now. Black Negan, your thoughts on Triple H going to the Hall of Fame?
Oh, man. Where the hell do I even begin? Alright, so, let me just say, this dude is without a doubt a goddamn legend. Like that goes without saying. That goes without saying. He is a legend, and let me just say, with everything that happened to him, with his heart and everything, he went in. He was practically almost dying from his heart. I gotta say, man, this dude. We did like I get we all have our opinions about him, like how he books it, how he books like certain shows every now and then. But you had to admit, this dude, he made a lot of people, wrestling fans again with how he's been booking these shows. Have they all been wins? No, no. Have they always been a hit? Not necessarily. But that doesn't change the fact that he's still one hell of a booker and one hell of a performer. And I get that that he had that whole reign of terror that a whole lot of people frown upon, and that's fair. That's fair. Let me just say, I get it. I get where everyone was coming from. But for me personally, I'm not gonna say I didn't mind it because I actually did. But all I have to say is he's a legend, no matter how you slice it. And with this induction, that pretty much seals it that he is without a doubt the greatest. Even before this, that he was one of the greatest wrestlers, performers of all time.
Yep.
And this may be because of some bias coming from me because of how long Roman's been champion, but he's a damn good booker too. And with that being said, man, the only other thing I have to say about this is it's only a matter of time before he becomes a three-time Hall of Famer too. Because we all know at some point down the line, they're gonna induct Evolution to the Hall of Fame too. It's only a matter of time. It's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when.
Yes, indeed. And now, we are moving on. Leo, your thoughts on Triple H going to the Hall of Fame?
I'm shocked they waited till now to do it. But you know what? It's fine. The Triple H has probably the most eventful and probably is to some polarizing career. I'm gonna start from WCW with terrorizing to John Paul Levesque trying to do a poor man's French accent, to then coming in as a Connecticut blue blood as Hunter Hearst Helmsley in '95 to pretty much rising up besides a snafu with the curtain call. Basically went up the card year by year, becoming amongst the greatest of all time. Yes, some of the booking was a bit egregious considering who he's sleeping with, and who he's married to now. But at the time, I'm specifically talking the Reign of Terror. But you know what? That was over 20 years ago, so let's just move on from it.
Indeed.
But over the time, you know what? He's done more good than bad for wrestling. My earliest memories are at least off the top of my head, I can happily remember was about late 2005 and up until now, because I didn't watch Raw as when I was a toddler. is, bedtime hours. But you know what? I've gone back. I appreciate everything he's done. The work that Triple H has put in and the legacy he's left behind can't be topped by any other wrestler. Like, at all. As a wrestler, he's absolutely great in the ring. Yes, a lot of his matches went way too long. Yes, some of the decisions are very noteworthy to be egregious, talking about that pedigree he gave Booker T. But other than that, it's had some of my absolute favorite matches of all time. Some of his Hell in a Cell matches with the likes of Batista, teaming with Shawn against Vince, Shane, and Big Show. His matches with The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Some of the greatest of all time matches. And not just with WWE, but also my personal favorites.
Yep.
Then also his character work is... he was always had this, snob, but also, try to be funny kind of dad in the later years. It's perfectly fine to me. Then the authority stuff, and up until now, if I could list them all, we'd be stuck here for another 2 hours. So all I'll say is, Triple H, Paul Levesque, most deserving Hall of Famer of all time.
Oh, wow. Well, to me, the most deserving Hall of Famer of all time was inducted in 2022.
Undertaker.
That was The Undertaker.
I know, The Undertaker, but I'm saying, compared to, what he's done all around.
Yeah, I get that to a sense, yeah.
Our boy H. Chisel.
Believe me, I'm with you. I love Undertaker, my favorite of all time too. But when you combine all the stuff that Triple H has done, it's be on screen and behind. It's unmatched.
Uh-huh.
That's our boy.
The only other person I would say to go into the Hall of Fame would be Vince, but it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. Okay, Sean, were you trying to say something?
I said that's our boy H. Trizzle.
Oh, that's funny. All right. So Dustin, your thoughts on Triple H going to the Hall of Fame?
Oh boy, this one's an interesting one, having Triple H as the headliner for this year's Hall of Fame. I wasn't really expecting Triple H to be the headliner this year. I was expecting a Batista or maybe The Rock, but I can't complain about Triple H getting into the Hall of Fame by himself this year. Obviously, he's already a former Hall of Famer in his own right while being a part of DX, and they very much deserved it then. Triple H deserves it now, being by himself. What a freaking career Triple H has had. Multi-time world champion, former IC champion, King of the Ring winner, Rumble winner. He's done it all in this business, not just as an in-ring performer, but also as a booker, as the head of creative for both, not just NXT, but also the main roster. He helped NXT get on TV. He's a very big focal point getting NXT on TV from the WWE Network. And now being the head of creative on the main roster, there's been some hiccups there, but I think there's been more good than bad with his booking. I really do think Triple H definitely deserves the spot. And honestly, you can't pick a better person to induct him than Shawn Michaels. You really can't. Maybe The Undertaker if he wasn't inducting Michelle McCool. But hey, Shawn Michaels is probably your best option. And I bet you Triple H wanted to have Shawn Michaels be the one that inducts him because obviously they're best friends. So Triple H, congratulations, and I can't wait to see how your booking is going to do for WrestleMania. Very, very much congratulations to you, Hunter. You absolutely deserve to be a 2-time Hall of Famer.
All right, and now, Steep, your thoughts on Triple H going to the Hall of Fame?
Words won't justify what Triple H has done for the wrestling business. And, from wrestler to booker, he's done it all. He has done a lot in overcoming adversity and everything. He has a creative mind, and he's such a genius with what he does. And, it's a lot of it's flawed. It is, he ain't perfect. Ain't no booker perfect. I'm just put that out there. But, we've established that. And so, but, Triple H knows what people like in wrestling. We can't kid it to everybody. I get that, but he knows when to give what audience what. He knows when to feed everybody around him. It's hard to do that when you're trying to please everyone, but Triple H tries to find that balance when he does a lot. We saw what he did with NXT. All those years that he was running in black and gold. So when the main roster, a lot of it can be really just, suckish and bad, but a lot of it can be really good as well. Some storylines are better than others. Some title reigns are not really the best. Some are, ones to look forward to. We haven't gotten to that portion of the podcast yet, but this Mania build has been, one heck of a thing when you look at the build of it. But, on paper, the match card really looks good. So he's very subjective, but every booker is like that. But at the end of the day, he has a mind. He knows what to put in wrestling. He, coming from the business, he's had great matches, and throughout his entire career. And absolutely, congratulations, Triple H, Paul Levesque. You've really earned this, and you've earned, where you sit as the booker. And, even if you weren't in the position that you were, I just didn't see, much of anyone else being, the booker of WWE outside Triple H. Maybe, someone like Shane McMahon if he was associated with the company. But, I just wouldn't see anyone else being in Triple H's position today had he not been, in-law to the McMahons or anything like that. So Triple H was the perfect guy to come in and have that, the spot that he is.
Yep. And finally, I guess we say the best for last. Hugh Balor, your thoughts on Triple H going to the Hall of Fame?
Pretty much Steve summed everything up right there. He's done a lot. The multi-time WWE champion, the inaugural World Heavyweight champion, the Intercontinental champion, European champion, Unified Tag champion, 2009 with Shawn Michaels, King of the Ring. We all know the accolades of Triple H, man. The booker and stuff. And it's neither here nor there. But he has good qualities and bad qualities when it comes to his booker, like any other booker out there. And he's done a lot in the business and stuff like that. And he's deserved this Hall of Fame right here. And it's very well long overdue. And congratulations to Paul Levesque, Triple H, on this big moment. Congratulations to that.
And I know you're still thinking, put Batista in the Hall of Fame!
It's 2020. I've been waiting. That's all I'm going to say.
Well,
don't you worry, man. It'll happen eventually. Don't know when, but don't you worry.
Well, eventually,
fingers are crossed.
Indeed. Well, hopefully there's always 2026, and if that doesn't work, 2029, and then if that doesn't work, 2100.
Cyberpunk 2077?
And if that doesn't work, then 2069.
Yeah, I guess so.
Nice.